I think we should kick it off like one of those PBS like pledge drives.
Yeah.
You know, where it's just like, hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for supporting your local Album of the Year podcast. We really value listeners like you.
I haven't eaten in a week, and I'd sure like to eat again today.
So please.
Please donate to our Patreon.
I'm about 10 seconds from roasting up X the Owl for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood right now. Please, dear God.
Wait,
donate.
Roasting up what?
Mr. Owl from the Mr.
X the Owl from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Oh, okay. I don't.
You never watched the pledge drive for PBS?
Oh yeah. Okay,
Yeah. Like
you heard all the, like that.
And they had all the Mr. Rogers people in it.
Right.
I'm the owl, and I think you should donate to PBS. Is that how he sounded? Probably.
Yeah,
not.
he sounded exactly like that. Yeah. It was 100%. That was the most perfect.
It was pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was the most perfect
You know that
impression
Mr.
we've ever
Rogers
done on the
doesn't
show.
wear pants when he does the thing.
Oh, God. Oh, Thomas.
Shh, Mr. Owl. It's been a long time here. I'm usually in a box.
Don't put me back in the box.
You can't silence me, Mr. Rogers.
So,
Changing gears.
Mr. Rogers.
so anyway, I talked to Courtney, and I guess the Bjork ACL show was 2006, not 2007.
No, I think you said 6 on the episode.
Did I?
Yeah, I edited it like
Okay.
14 times. So
Whatever year that I said it was not the year. So if I said 2006, it was actually 2007.
Okay.
And she did not actually say it was the best thing she had ever seen musically, but she was like, it was pretty fucking amazing.
I'm sure it was super
Yeah,
amazing. Like,
yeah.
what was going on in 2007, man? Because we were here in town. Like, why would we not have been all on the jazz to see Bjork?
I'm trying to remember when did it start? What year did it start? Was it 2000?
What, ACL?
The ACL was
It was like 2002, 2003, something like that. It was the
Could've-
first year that I went was 2004.
No,
but I
'cause
think it had been around for a little bit.
Well, I have a. I thought it was. I kind of know what I think I know what the date is, but it deals with a previous. That's when it first came out, and we had a wedding on that exact same date that it first started. So
Well,
that's
then why are you asking us what the?
Well, I don't remember. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember when I.
It seems like you would remember that. Not really?
I try to forget
Your
that stuff.
wedding
out.
day?
My
first
First wedding day.
I think
starter wedding day.
Started wedding. I think
Thomas Reedy has lived a lot of life.
I think it was
I've been
2004. I think you're right. I think it was 2004, 2005 that it was on there. And I think I do remember hearing Bjork coming about in like the next couple of years. It was in the very beginning because there's a lot of pretty big stuff in the beginning, and then you never saw her again. Never had a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think I knew. Although it's possible. I was thinking about it later. It was like there was that period when Medulla came out, which is an album where she doesn't use any instruments, and it's all like
what? Really?
Yeah, it's all like beatboxing and like stuff. It's really
that sounds
like I remember
cool.
a quote from Bjork where she's like, "Instruments are over." No, she was just joking, but it was just hilarious. But I was like, maybe the only thing I could think of is if I knew
canceled.
about it. Yeah, instruments canceled.
Canceled.
But maybe it was a situation where it was like, oh, Bjork is probably going to do that weird album, so maybe we'll catch her next time. That's the only thing I could think of.
That's got to be what it is. That's the only thing I think, because I know you would have tried, because you would have tried to go see it, and there's got to have been something that made you like, oh.
I will say, though, that it has gotten in a rhythm with ACL Fest where every year I'm kind of like, oh, yeah, it's like one person I really want to see and like 5 people I kind of want to see.
Yeah,
and like
it's
3
never
people
worth
I
it.
never want to see.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And so I think I'm just getting old, and maybe that's what it is. But I don't know if that would have. I just think I did skip the chance to see Stevie Wonder one year. So I mean, and Paul McCartney played it, and I skipped that too. So it's like there are people that come and play it, but it seems to me like Bjork. I mean, I've never seen Bjork, so I would have gone on my way to see it. And Steph too, for that matter. So.
Sure.
You guys on your last podcast talked about the sports festival MTV. I have a fun story about that.
Oh yeah.
So
Let's hear
at
it.
the time, my late brother was in town to go see it. So I grabbed my skateboard, as it was a sports fest. Proceeded to skateboard down there when I was at UT, going down through there, getting over to Barton Springs, which was a bit of a.
So you skateboarded from campus, from the drag, seemingly the drag, all the way to Zilker?
Oh, yeah. So this is a continuation of the story. So I get there. I'm tired as crap.
Of course.
I sat there and I was like.
The sports and MTV sports. And
I sat there. I was like.
I better get to meet Dan Cortez.
Well, Dan Cortez.
I'm going straight to the beach house for this.
I fucking skateboarded 3 miles or whatever.
It was. I mean, I used to skateboard down from UT campus down to 6th Street all the time, and would go skate all around and come back up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went down there. Cool. I couldn't get tickets to get in. So somehow I was like, well, I don't want to skateboard all the way back. I'm tired. Tired. It's hot. It's nasty. I get on a bus thinking the bus is going to take me over to that area. No, it took me to Barton Springs Mall, even farther away than campus. So I get over there, and this is before cell phones, right? This is before anything else. So I'm sitting there. I'm in Barton Springs Mall going like, how am I going to get back? Because I don't remember anyone. I didn't remember people's number. I didn't know anything to call. I didn't have any change on me to call a number. Yeah. Luckily, randomly enough, I ran into someone that lived in my dorm that I recognized with his girlfriend.
He was at the mall?
At the mall with his girlfriend. I was like, hey, this is what happened to me. I got stuck over here. I have no way to get back. Can you help a brother out? Yeah. Luckily, I sat in the back of their truck and was able to get all the way back to campus. And I had never met the guy or anything else, and somehow I got back with that.
So who did you know, the guy or the girl?
I knew the guy. He was, okay. But yeah, I remember going all the way down there to go watch my some ska bands or punk bands or anything else, and I didn't get a chance to go because they didn't have any tickets left. And I was like, peace, I'm out of here. And then I get stuck in Barton Springs Mall, which is nowadays, like you think about nowadays, like that's never an issue. You're like, okay, I've got Uber on my phone. I can get Uber or Lyft or whatever.
Right, of course.
Or I can call someone. I had no cell phone. I mean, I basically had my wallet, my ID.
You'd just be like 1-800 collecting somebody.
Yeah. Just trying to get there, and it's just crazy to think about. It's like,
I saw that commercial with French Stewart, who taught me the value of $1. Real talk. I still have a 1-800-COLLECT magnet with Terry Bradshaw on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude.
Those commercials were crazy. Like, they were super, a pop cultural phenomenon for a couple of years. Yeah, and then, like, now I understand that if you use that, it, like, charges you, like, $200 a minute or something. Like, it's just completely, like, predatory or something, like.
So wait, 1-800-COLLECT still exists?
Yes, it still exists.
Oh, my God.
Don't use it.
It's not the value that it was in 1999.
It is now like just been bought and sold, I guess, so many times that it's just some hucksters who are like, there are enough people who remember it from the 90s that are like, hey, what happens if I call that? And it turns out you get charged $200 or something.
I mean, it's a solid brand. I think we should try and revive it. Jesus.
Album of the Year podcast sponsored by 1-800-COLLECT.
That's right.
Please
it's our first sponsor.
We should call them. I bet they would sponsor us. That would be a disaster. Please don't do that. It would just like. Yeah.
We would get a lot of hate mail for that. Yeah, probably.
Sponsored pie.
Marty, did you consume your fried pie like I did?
I didn't get a fried pie.
He didn't get one.
You didn't get a fried pie?
I had a big dinner. They have these M&M candy bars now. And my mom sent me a few of them. Okay, so full disclosure, my mom still sends me care packages from time to time. 40 years old, it still happens. She sent Courtney and I a Valentine's Day care package, and she put 2 of those M&M candy bars in them. So we both ate one, and I really liked mine. So I went out and bought a few more, and I ate like a half of one with my dinner tonight after dinner, and I had a pretty big dinner, so I'm kind of stuffed, to be honest. Okay.
Well, we're eating fried pies that we picked because we have to have the fried pies because who is our guest?
Yes.
You probably figured it out by now. Long-time listener.
I've listened to every single one.
Our first fan.
Our biggest fan.
Our biggest fan.
Fan is a strong word.
Yeah. It's Thomas Reedy, ladies and gentlemen. You loved him the first time. You loved him the second time. Here he's back.
Back on the
only one time, right? Or no?
Well, wasn't it split into 2 parts?
Oh, yeah, split into 2 parts. There you go. They cut me in half, and my right half said one thing, and the left half said the other. It was really gross.
Crazy.
That was a very strange episode, that one. But we got him back together eventually.
Yeah, we did. We Frankensteined him back up.
Yep.
You know, my insides look like a fried pie. It was really weird.
Was that Simpsons Halloween episode where like Homer got sewn onto Mr. Burns? You remember that one?
I didn't see that.
I think I remember that.
So
See, this is the thing. Marty has like a bunch of the weird Simpsons stuff. Somehow I remember because I also am a TV watcher, cartoon watcher.
Yeah. But and I've been devouring that stuff on Disney Plus too. Even though they won't fucking put the old ones in the 4:3 aspect ratio.
Oh, I hate that.
Pissing me off.
That's infuriating.
It's terrible.
I thought they were going to change that.
They said they were going to change it in 2020, but that hasn't. It's been 2020 for 2 months.
Yeah.
Get on your and Disney,
get on it. Disney Plus.
The Apple TV app is shit.
Disney Plus, we're coming for you. We've got that 1-800-COLLECT money, and we're going to come and make you put the correct aspect ratio on the system.
We tried to watch Captain Marvel on the Roku TV in the main room, and Captain Marvel would not fucking load. and it's like I pay for a subscription for this service and I can't watch this fucking movie. What the hell? And Courtney started Googling some suggestions and I was like, no, I don't want to fucking do this. Just
I've had no problems with mine on my Roku.
really, yeah, I don't know. It might have just been a one-off thing with Captain Marvel, but I just didn't feel like fucking with it.
El Captain Marvel.
Which I actually liked. I thought it was pretty good. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay.
It's one of the few things I get Chris to go to the movie theater for is usually the Marvel
movies, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen all the Marvel movies.
You guys
So
completely changed my mind on the Marvel movies, too.
Oh, you got into them?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was always sort of into them, but I understand, like, I much more appreciate their cachet and what they represent now more than I did before, I think.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Good, man.
I'm excited for the new ones, too.
Black
Widow.
Black Widow, yeah. Was it Scarlett Johansson? She Black Widow? Yeah.
Well, it's because it's not attached to anything else. It's just a single kind of movie in the middle of it.
One shot kind of movie.
Yeah, so I'm all for it. And then whatever the next Black Panther. I mean, a Black Cat.
Yeah.
Wherever.
I'm excited for wherever they go, whatever, you know.
Eternals.
I mean, I think I always say I think I have the right attitude about it, which is that I go and see them and think about them for about an hour, and then that's about it.
Yeah,
you know,
that's all you need. Yeah, it's good.
I like the Internals changes they've talked about with.
Yeah, that one seems to blow my mind. Like,
it's
Guardians of the Galaxy
bizarre.
was a stretch, but the Eternals, you're going to do that? Okay.
And
I don't know what's the Eternals.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think of not knowing anything about Guardians, so like the Eternals are, they're like weird pseudo god superhero things.
Oh yeah, I think I've
crazy
heard about
Kirbyism.
Welcome to Album of the Year podcast, guys. With all the comic book discussion you ever wanted. Yeah,
It's my fault. I brought it out of Marty.
Yeah, let's make sure, for those of you who don't remember the episode with Thomas, Thomas is a great visual artist.
Yes,
you'll notice if you look at your iPhone or whatever phone you're looking at right now, if you'll check out the artwork with the cassette tape. Maybe you look at the sticker on the back of your car if you're one of our buds who have one of those.
Yeah.
That was drawn by Thomas. So he's a fantastic visual artist. Grew up comic books. You worked in a comic book store and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of your.
I love comics forever.
That's your stilo, right?
Yep.
Your what?
It was his stilo.
His stilo. Yes, it is his stilo. Yeah, okay.
So
I thought you said it was his Stevo. And
that's your Stevo, dude.
So whatever, man.
Let me try.
Hey, man, I'm gonna go pierce my ass cheeks together, bro. Get a tattoo of myself on my back.
What did he do?
I'm gonna get a tattoo by Henry Rollins in a moving Jeep.
Yeah,
and get a tattoo
moving
on my
Hummer.
chest.
Yeah,
Hummer, you got a
that
tattoo
happened too.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Extreme tattoo.
That's why I don't watch TV.
Got wasabi up the nose. That was
Jackass.
really good.
You know, and it's the Jackass thing. Like those guys seemed like they were, kind of genuine and endearing, and they had kind of like a punk rock sensibility about them, but. It's just weird, man. You know.
I actually enjoyed some of the movies because
I did too.
Their faces, and when they have an idea, and their faces are like
they light up.
You could just see like some of the like, I don't know why we did this.
Yeah.
I'm worried about myself doing this, which is great. Like this reality to it.
It sort of seems like it's a warning against peer pressure. I mean, I don't know. I never watched any. I've never seen a single episode of Jackass, so I don't know much about it. But
the movies are fun.
Maybe we could do that.
I maybe have to make you.
Make me watch Jackass the movie.
Yeah.
Well, the topic of conversation today, actually, let's thread into it.
Let's do it.
Art and commerce.
That's right.
So you can see one of the reasons why we have Thomas here. We have a couple of reasons why he's here, but one of them is because he is a visual artist, and he can talk about that concept a couple of different ways. And
absolutely.
We're going to kind of talk about it in a couple different ways ourselves, and it kind of threads with something Marty and I have talked about before.
We have.
We put together, well, we've talked about it just on the podcast in general, but we do have a lost episode of the podcast called the the Punk Rock Ethos Lunchtime.
Yes, the Punk Rock Ethos Lunchtime. We also have our show review of the P-Funk show.
Oh,
out there in the ether somewhere.
Yeah. So we got a couple of lost episodes.
We got some stuff in the can.
Yeah, but the Punk Rock Ethos thing, we had some technical issues, and that was kind of the problem with that one. But so we have kind of talked about art and commerce. You and I have absolutely, but some of that discussion hasn't made it to the podcast yet. So, and there's There's a couple reasons why I want to do it. One, I think it's an interesting topic.
Yeah,
Two,
absolutely.
we took a long look over the Christmas break at our approach to the Patreon, and we're kind of relaunching the Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
So all that joking around about the PBS at the beginning or whatever was partly because we do want to talk about the Patreon again, because I'm a little bit more excited for it now than I was before.
We have kind of breathed some new energy into it. For
Yeah.
sure.
Well, the truth is, we didn't handle it right the first time around.
Exactly.
And I take full responsibility for that, because Marty, you were the one who was saying we need to get a Patreon, and then when you were giving me, and I didn't look at Patreon. I'm kind of a curmudgeon when it comes to the financial side of things.
We did have some conversations about it, and it's like, Chris was a little leery, like, I don't know if I want to make money off of this kind of thing, and I explained to him some friends of mine, my friend Adam Benden, who may or may not be listening, I don't know. He does a political podcast, and he's like a very much like leftist anarchist kind of guy, and he has a Patreon.
Yeah,
for
right.
his podcast.
When you told me that was when I was like, all right, I can't be farther left and grumpy about this than the anarchist.
If Adam does, and Adam, great guy. Like, I hope he's listening right now. I actually showed him how to stream everything to YouTube with Libsyn, and he was like forever grateful. He's like, oh my God, thank you so much. We were at a party. This was over the summer, and I was like, here's my number, if you have any questions, just let me know. And he was like, dude, thank you so much. And podcasters unite. Podcasters have to stick together, right? But anyway, so Chris kind of, came out of the woods a little bit after I told him that. And, it's not something we're going to light the world on fire with, right? But if we can get, a few $100 a year, whatever, maybe that'll help pay for the actual podcast production itself.
Yeah, I don't mind saying the real numbers on this thing if you don't mind. To get Libs. So it's no secret if you've been listening to the podcast, this is a long podcast.
Yes.
So we can't just go with like whatever free program is out there or whatever. We have to go with a larger one.
We have to have a chunk of server space to put the episodes on. That's
so
the reality.
That breaks down to about $30 a month for us, and that's just the hosting. That doesn't all the time and all that. I mean, but it's a labor of love in that sense. Like I love doing the podcast, and this gets into the art and commerce kind of dichotomy, right? To what degree do you want to monetize the work that you do? Do you want it just to live and exist and be this free-form thing? Do you want it to be, the way you buy a Lambo, or is it somewhere in the middle?
Lambo.
Yeah, so a little peep over here is talking about his Lambo, but
you want to get some face tats? Hey, that's your thing.
Yeah, you got to bankroll.
Buy Google.
Yeah,
with some money.
Well, you just got to get the squarest face tat ever.
By Google.
And 1-800-COLLECT.
1-800-COLLECT.
It just
There was a
like
viral kind of clickbaity website going around. This was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it was basically all these people's mugshots, and all the people in the mugshots had really bad face tattoos. And this one guy,
I don't think I've seen a really good face tattoo.
Well, no, but I mean, when I say bad face tattoos, I'm saying like not like SoundCloud rapper face tattoos. Like these tattoos are like, compared to these tattoos, those tattoos are like fantastic works of art. So I just remember this one guy, he got like the radio, like the low, and this guy was like probably in his 60s and had like white hair and a really shitty fake tan, and he just looked old. And he had like the local radio station's logo tattooed on his forehead, like this really
Power 104.
Yeah.
I think that guy did it for if I remember correctly, he did it to win X amount of money. There's been a couple people done the same thing too.
The guy in the mugshot looked like the bitter beer face guy after he drank the bitter beer. He's like,
he's got that look, but then he's got like
but then he's got the fucking
Fox
97X tattoo.
It's just bonkers. But there's those old 90s radio would do insane stuff like that.
They would.
Yeah,
hey, it's Jim and Bob in the morning zoo.
Hey, now.
We're going to give tickets to the Georgia Satellites for caller 12. Let's do
I
it.
make you horny? Because they have to like some like pop culture reference on the.
Do I make you horny?
Bob, I don't know.
What do you think?
He's an artist in the booth right there.
Hey.
I hated that stuff, man.
So ridiculous.
You know, a quick story. When I was in college, I had a morning radio program, and I came in on Mondays.
You had a morning radio.
But it was at 5 in the morning, and it was like
it was like
5
a
to
national
8.
air
It was a
shift. Legit,
3-hour block.
Wake up with Christopher Wright.
It was kind of like that, but all the other
We
ones
just
were
heard
guys trying
from-
to do morning zoo programs. Like they were
course.
all like, "Hey, everybody!"
Yeah.
And I would come in and it'd be like, "Hey, everybody, it's Monday morning. Want to hear the Rosenbergs? Here we go.
You want to hear the new
here we
Stone
go.
Roses album?
Yeah, no,
Here
I mean,
you fucking go.
Yeah, no, but it would constantly be like, "Hey, everybody! Oh, here's it's 5 in the morning. You want to go back to sleep? Here's Packed Like Sardines in a Crushed Tin Can by Radiohead."
All right, good night.
We were playing,
It's 58 degrees. I'm Christopher Wright. Wake up.
The dew point.
Actually, that was Encyclopedia Brown.
It's like-
the wind is coming out of the
I
west.
should go by Encyclopedia
10
Brown on a
miles per
podcast.
hour.
From now on, you guys have to call me Encyclopedia Brown. What do you guys think? Is that all right?
I'm not.
Can I call you
signing off on
Encyclopedia Browntown?
Okay. Get out of here.
That was.
Yeah, he's off the air. he just took
Take
it
your
straight back
Jameson
to
with you, Thomas.
the morning zoo there.
Browntown! Woo! Hey, you're gonna go back to Browntown, aren't you, Brent? What do you think? Let's bring our next guest in. What do you say?
She's the
Ladies
stripper at
and
the
gentlemen-
local.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Zombie. No, I don't know. She's the of course.
Yeah, it'd just be a bunch of guys trying to be Howard Stern.
We're gonna play She's My Cherry Pie 10 times in a row.
Yeah. Oh man.
So that's the Martin Commerce for you.
So that's well, I mean, that is kind of weird because, those guys, a lot of those guys, they're not the local guys, but I mean, the shock jock wannabe guys, like they were in it for the money, Like we had a conversation about Limp Bizkit the other day.
Yeah.
And me and Steven have continued that Limp Bizkit conversation for the last week.
And I've thrown some stuff in there here and there too over our text thread.
And I love you, Steven, but
Yeah.
Steven was defending Limp Bizkit because he was like, yeah, but they knew how to make them money, and take it with them and everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, he was like, wouldn't you be in Limp Bizkit for the money they got? Who cares? And I'm like, no, I wouldn't. And I mean that legitimately. Like to
Right.
me,
It means you have to hang out with those guys.
well, it means that that's what your legacy is. And to me, like I'd rather have no legacy than a
Right.
bad legacy.
Right.
And you can't pay me anything to walk around with a bad legacy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like regardless. And I think that goes to my sort of stubborn views on art and commerce is that
Yeah.
I never, here's another story. So Steph would go out and she would play her very thoughtful, sort of deeply probing lyrics, and songs. And she got hooked in with this local group, and I won't say their names because you would look them up, and then suddenly it's a Twitter war.
Was it like a West Texas?
It was a
local
West
group?
Texas
Okay.
thing,
Okay.
and they had a radio show, and Steph went on a little mini tour with them, but they would do their radio show. So every week they would have a radio show, and Steph would go and be the featured guest on it. So it's just a kind of live in the studio thing, just for the
Right.
Lubbock area. And every week, she said the entire 30-minute show or hour-long show was them talking about how they needed more money and people to send in more money to keep the show on the air.
Yeah.
What good are you doing if all you do is beg for money the entire time you're on the air? It's useless. At that point, it's a self-perpetuating thing. And I think about that sometimes where I'm like, I don't ever want the podcast to be something where we've got to devote some portion of it to begging for money.
Right,
To me, that's just the kiss of death. I'd just rather not do it,
Yeah.
if we had to do that. And so it was really hard for me when we first were talking about the Patreon to get excited for it because I was like, oh God, I'm turning into that guy.
Yeah.
There's guys begging for money. I don't want to do that. And so I completely dragged my feet on it. And then when you were talking to me about it, I wasn't listening. And then I said, no, these should be and I thought it was more like a Kickstarter thing,
Right,
Like,
yeah. And I
okay, yeah,
almost
people will throw us
kinda
$5
thought that
here.
too, yeah.
Or people throw us $20 here or something as like a one-shot kind of deal.
Right.
And it turns out it's not like that. It's more like paying
It's
a
a
subscription.
subscription,
It's
yeah.
a voluntary subscription to the podcast.
If you look at the name of it, Patreon, it's your Patreon paying you money.
Sure, but you're a patron. But I don't think of it like,
I mean, the worst thing is I didn't know. I didn't look at what you had your listed your prices were. I would have told you what are you
Sure,
doing?
fine.
You know,
Yeah,
I have lots of friends. This is how they.
Well, you're smarter than us, Thomas.
Supplement there.
Well, this is how I'm the art world. This is how the art world survives at this point in time with people doing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of Patreon stuff, right?
Tons of my friends either doing Patreon for the miniature painting stuff like people do. I have friends doing sculpting illustrations, and they utilize it for pre-sales of stuff, access to like how-tos, access to like a blog post type of things, and so they just have that kind of stuff, and people will make a decent amount of money towards their
The side hustle.
Basically, it's like, hey, if I make an extra $1,000 a month, that's money that can goes towards paying some bill or something.
Yeah.
So that's what that's what most of my friends use it for. Like I have a couple friends that's part of their living, and so they make a lot. I know other people. There's another guy who does all these magic card videos, and you could join his Patreon so you can buy boxes from him at a cheaper rate, and you get a cheaper rate on them for joining the Patreon.
That's really.
So it's like basically you're joining. It's like you're joining, like going to buying Sam's, getting a Sam's Club membership, and you get access to stuff on there. So that's kind of the way a lot of people use their Patreon for. So there's a lot of different aspects on it that people have been. And the big thing with Patreon was they don't take a whole lot out. It's a pretty flat fee. It's a pretty simple fee how you do it. Like unlike a lot of the Twitch stuff, well, like Twitch takes out a big chunk of money. Most of these Twitch players, like I'll go on Twitch on free. You don't have to subscribe to me to Twitch. Subscribe to my Patreon and pay me that way. And because the money they take just flat fee. Everything's a basic flat fee, and it's just easier that way. Because their thought process was we want to try to keep the arts or keep these people doing stuff that is exciting and neat to do. And now they have kind of an avenue for it. Because I mean, buying a sculpture or buying something, a $200 piece, people can't do all the time.
Right.
But throwing $5 a month to someone.
Well, the truth is, let's say you are a sculptor, right? And you create a really great sculpture, but where are you going to show it off? At the local coffee shop, and then your market is the people who walk in the room and see it. But the great thing about the internet is that suddenly you've got worldwide distribution and anyone can see it. But if someone in Australia now loves it and is like, I've got to have that, then you have access to it in some way. And that's one of the cool things about worldwide distribution. But I would think from an art standpoint, the internet has been like a kind of double-edged sword, because it's probably similar to music, where it's like, also, people just steal your art all the time.
I've had a ton of my work stolen by Chinese companies printing on T-shirts.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, tons of stuff I've had stolen. I've
like
had
Warhammer stuff?
No, illustrations. Like I did a bunch of like zombie, zombie Rainbow Bright, zombie other stuff. And all it got stolen.
Thing,
I've gotten that stolen and put on there, and people sit up there, and it goes away real quick because the Chinese reprinters. And you can print you can put a picture of whatever lo-fi picture on there, and they'll find a way to take it off and either just slap it on anything anyway. So I look at it one way. I'm not using this to survive. Everything I make from my art and my side hustle is there to pay for my other dumb stuff I buy.
Right.
So it's just kind of like, it's just side money. It helps out. It helps with the bills in a month. It makes sure that everything gets, covered on it, but I don't necessarily need it to survive.
Right.
You're
not, but I mean, the sad thing is part of that is the resignation to like, okay, this isn't going to be my career. Yeah. Wouldn't it be cool if it could be your career?
I mean, I had that career for 2 years, and I'll tell you right now, doing your hobby that you like a lot for your career and making it what you actually have to live with and make with it, and things aren't working, is hard. That's why I came back to doing computer stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So yeah, I mean, like I did art for 2 years, and it was a good time, but freelance sucks.
Yeah,
I had to have 3 months of money saved because I'm a contribution to a house note. I mean, if I was by myself, my car was paid for, and I lived in a cheap apartment,
That'd
sure.
be one thing.
Yeah, I would have probably moved to New York or moved to LA.
Yeah.
But I didn't, so I decided to come back and have something consistent. And doing on the side is, it's much more enjoyable for me. I like doing it. If the day was like I can't draw today, it's not the end of my world.
Right.
When you can't.
Whenever we were doing the food blog and I was writing a lot of food reviews and stuff, and we got picked up by Austin.com, I said, maybe this writing thing isn't so hard. And I told Courtney, like, maybe I should quit my job and just try and get writing gigs. And she was like, oh no. And she was right. She was definitely right. But I was like, I think I can do it. I think I can. And she was like, Marty, how are you going to you got to have health insurance. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like I was 37 at the time, a few years ago, So I'm.
It's kind of a siren call, though, like, hey, if I could just make music or whatever, or do podcasting, do this, like that sounds a lot more fun than what we normally do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It gets hard though. Like, look, I like to dance for myself. I don't want to have to dance just for a living. I dance for myself. If I make a little bit of money, that's great.
But I mean, to some degree, as crass as that joke is, sometimes that's the thing I don't ever want to be. I don't want to ever be someone who's just like, hey baby, like I don't want to be the podcast equivalent of that. You know what I mean? And I don't mean to be like, but this goes back to how we were even as musicians, I much preferred the pass the hat school than the, I need $500 up front or we don't play kind of thing. Right. And it probably hurt us. I mean, our second album, we tried to release free on the internet. And we tried to build hype around it, And this was an idea that I'd had for years. Even when I was in high school, I wanted to distribute the music for free,
I remember that, yeah.
And so when we finally got a chance to do it in like 2009, I was hoping that people would be excited for it, and we tried to like release a song a day and all this stuff. A damn squib. It was nothing. Nobody cared. And there is a theory that they taught us at South Plains College, which was that if you don't charge a certain amount for your money, you make it look valueless, and so nobody will go for it.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, there could be a lot of other explanations, but there's a very weird thing the way art intersects commerce, because you have people like me who are maybe on an extreme of crankiness about it, not wanting to sell out, and not because selling out is like I'm too old to worry about what a bunch of other punk rockers think of me, in that sense. But selling out from an internal sense, like just doing something for the paycheck.
Like you have morals.
Playing for Limp Bizkit.
What?
Playing with Limp Bizkit.
Playing with, like I could never do that. Like that would be selling out what I want out of I would rather work where I work now and be broke, than be in Limp Bizkit and just get up every day having to know that about
knowing
myself.
Play and drop D-tuning for
drop D-tuning is cool in its own way, but yeah, I don't want to be. I guess it's like I can be poor and have my dignity, and that's worth it to me.
Means you didn't do it all for the nookie, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I didn't do.
Yeah. That joke got made in the last episode. I was thinking about something, and this is a little bit kind of, I guess, switching gears a little bit, Chris, but I was thinking earlier before I came over here about the model behind being a musician or being in a band when you and Steph were starting. So maybe let's say early 2000s to 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
How is it different from the model now? Do you think that not the business model, but do you think the model for artists? Do you think the artists have more power now, or do you think the people in charge have more power?
I think the artists have way more power now.
I would agree with that.
I 100% think so, because you were screwed back in the 80s and 90s or whatever. Mm-hmm. You had to pay to play.
Right.
You had to get someone excited about you. Mm-hmm. You had to, because the thing is that A&R, sure, but people, we were past the point where they were interested in developing artists.
Yeah.
What they wanted was you to have done all the work ahead of time, and they just pick you up and distribute it. Yeah. So it was entirely about buying into a power structure where, look, I'm powerless to distribute to the rest of America, so, and this is pre-internet, like I'm powerless to distribute anywhere outside of me and Master P selling stuff out of the trunk,
popping trunk on you.
Yeah, exactly. That's Steven said that. I love that expression. But so that's all I can do. I need somebody else to take this worldwide. Mm-hmm. And so everybody was just fighting for that scrap.
Yeah.
Now and I always hated, the timing for us was the worst, because I always felt like we were in the middle of that flux and not everyone could see it.
Right.
It's this is changing. And I hate saying this because it makes it sound like I'm patting myself on the back. But the truth is, I got involved in computer culture early. And as soon as, even before the MP3 as a format appeared,
Chris was at Homebrew building computers with Woz and Steve Jobs.
Yeah, we were back there, and I was I was explaining the concept for iTunes. When the Apple IIe rolled out.
So in 20 years, Steve, everyone's going to have a little rectangular box that all their music is going to go.
But I have mentioned this before. In 1993, 94, I still have it. I've never showed it to you, but I should dig it up and show it to you.
Yeah.
There's a piece of paper that's a note, and you would know this person actually. That's me and Josh Kemp passing a piece of paper back and forth to each other in science class.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And he's sitting like in the desk behind me, and I'm writing like, hey, this is the plan, and the plan is to use computers to distribute music. And like we will record our music because we were in a little fake garage band that never even played a gig, but I was like, we'll use computers to record our music at Mike Thomas's house, and then we will build a bulletin board system, and then we will use a shareware model to distribute our music. So if you like the music, then you can pay us whatever you think, whatever you think makes sense. This is 1994 that I'm planning what is essentially Patreon, or some version of this, and of course I'm an idiot and I didn't build that system, but everybody that I talked to about it thought I was just insane. Now artists at least have these kinds of these platforms, and it's understood that if you went to someone, and now you have to convince me, which is funny. I'm now on the other side of it. I'm just like, but it's been a while since we've done that one.
Well, it's like if you're a musician, you can make music on your laptop if you have GarageBand, and you have access to a worldwide distribution network with SoundCloud and Bandcamp and anything. Like the kind of like the sky's the limit. The world is your oyster. Now, you have a lot of segmenting going on, and you have a lot of competition and
signal to noise ratio is really high.
It's crazy, yeah. But I think it's better that there's no gatekeepers telling everybody. I mean, you still have people telling you what's popular, kind of, but it's much different now. I think could somebody like Billie Eilish have been the biggest pop star in the world 15 years ago when the fucking like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera were the biggest pop stars ever? Like I don't think so.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I don't know.
I mean, maybe Billie Eilish. I mean, I don't know. That's partly a different phenomenon because I don't know if she utilized the internet to make it happen.
And she had like famous parents her parents worked in the film industry or something.
That's a whole other thing about But, I mean, I think those parts of the pop music machine still work similarly. But the point is, it's a lot easier to work outside of it.
Exactly.
You don't have to be as committed. You don't have to be as independently spirited as Mac from Superchunk to be able to produce and distribute an independent record. You can put it together in your garage, and let's say you go and you produce Kid A in your garage, and then you put it out there. There's a chance someone will hear it, and then that will be satisfying to you. You know what I mean? And I think that, at least for me, that's what I love about that. It really threads right back to the podcast. Why do we do the podcast, Marty?
Because we love music.
Because we love music and we love talking to each other about music, man.
Exactly.
Like,
we wanted to share this passion with everybody, as many people as we can.
Right.
And we have the opportunity to do that.
We do. And that alone proves, like, yes, we're not doing music here, but we're doing a creative pursuit.
Absolutely. We're creators.
Right.
Absolutely, 100%.
And just the ability to put it up and then talk to Thomas about it 2 days later. Like, that to me is...
It's powerful.
That's powerful.
Exactly.
That's satisfying.
I agree.
So the only thing is that it costs us $30 a month to do it.
That's right.
So this is where the commerce piece comes in. And so we have relaunched the Patreon. We kind of suggested it. Tell us a little bit about kind of how we're doing it now.
Sure. So essentially, if you have any experience at all with Patreon, if you've given to any other Patreons for other creators, first of all, I will say thank you on behalf of them, because any support you give to any content creator out there, I think, is noble, and it's definitely worth a pat on the back. But essentially, what we did is we have 3 tiers, essentially, and what you would do is you would sign up for one of the 3 tiers, and each tier comes with different benefits. Well, not different benefits. It kind of heaps on from the last one. But so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of read the tiers, how they appear on our Patreon page. So the first tier is $1 per month, and that's the 45 RPM tier. And essentially that gives you, subscribing to the 45 RPM tier gives you access to the blog posts, which are updated 2 to 3 times a month. Blog posts are composed by Marty and Chris and are usually reflections on music within the context of popular culture and their lives. So there's already a bunch of blog posts up.
Yeah, there's some good ones. And I've got a couple that will be up probably by the time this comes out because I've got a couple of things.
Chris has some in the can. I need to get a few more out there, but I have a few ideas started. But we both have posts up that you can read. And
a lot of them are riffs on things we've talked about on the podcast too. So if you listen to the podcast and you're curious and you like to read about music, that's a good place to check it out.
It's a good place to kind of check out. So that's the 45 RPM tier. The next tier is the 12-inch LP tier, and that is just $2 a month. Okay, subscribing to the 12-inch LP tier gives you access to the blog as well as access to Patreon exclusive audio content and episodes not on our standard feed. So the 12-inch LP tier gets you the blog posts, all the stuff in the $1 45 RPM tier, but you also get some exclusive audio that you're not going to get in the regular podcast feed. When we talk about the paywall, we're going to put it behind the paywall. This is what we're talking about, guys. This is the Patreon paywall. So this is where you might hear some stuff that we recorded just as a demo, or some like the episode we talk about where we just kind of made sure that we could talk about music and had good chemistry. Like that might show up there when it might not. But it might. So,
and we do have. I know that we're going to definitely have the part of the P-Funk show recording. We're going to have some. It's basically, and I've mentioned this before. Another part of the thing where I was trying to be real reticent about the Patreon is I didn't want us to start hoarding stuff, where it's like, I don't want to suddenly the podcast is 30 minutes and we're begging, but give us the money to hear the real podcast.
Yeah, to hear the 2-hour version.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't
want a real version or real opinions, pay us $2.
Yeah.
So another thing that's going to be behind that 12-inch LP tier is a project that Chris and Thomas have recently embarked on. Why don't you guys tell us a little bit about that?
Thomas, you want to jump in here?
Was it...
How have I not seen Die Hard is the name of the podcast.
Yeah. So it started off because we've had a discussion. As you know, if you've listened to the podcast, Chris doesn't watch a whole lot of movies.
And I don't like a whole lot of movies.
He doesn't like to spend his time watching a whole lot of movies. I watch a lot of movies, and through our discussion of older style movies, because we're both pretty close to the same age, we've come to the conclusion we both hadn't seen Die Hard.
How have we not seen Die Hard?
Right. It makes no sense for me. I can understand.
It makes a little more sense for me, but it makes no sense for you. I don't know how you haven't seen it. It should be called How Has Thomas Not Seen Die Hard?
So we started discussing it, and we started talking about other movies that either I've seen, Chris hasn't seen, or movies we both hadn't seen. And so we've...
the list is ridiculous for me. You've seen quite a few.
I've seen quite a few, and so
but I haven't seen Terminator. I haven't seen RoboCop. I hadn't seen Rambo.
Conan the Barbarian, right?
Conan the Barbarian, especially if you're into '80s action movies. There's a whole bunch of those I've never seen.
And so our decision was okay, Chris, we're gonna watch these movies. We'll start them. We'll give our opinion, kind of we think about the movie beforehand. Yeah. What kind of thought process we might have.
What do we know about the movie? What do we think we're about to see? Do we think this is going to be a good movie? Do we think we're going to like it? What do we know about it? What do we know about the plot? So and we may get it wrong, because we may have misunderstood what it is.
Right. Then we'll watch it, and then we'll come back and discuss, did we like it? Did our opinions change on it? Did we have different thoughts about it?
What did we think the movie was doing? So it's kind of like a movie review podcast with one guy who really loves movies and one guy who really hates movies.
Right. so it gets this really interesting shift because we're coming with hey, we're going to take our perceived ideas about it already, and then let's see if we can change our minds. Yeah. And we've done two
so far,
and they've both been interesting. I was happy with both of them because it was both movies we hadn't seen, which is exciting because there's a lot of stuff I've seen, and so
we could tell them what they were.
We saw
the very first one is First Blood.
Rambo,
we thought that
First Blood.
Yeah, so it's the first Rambo movie.
And I listened to it, and it's great. It's so good.
Marty wasn't sure about it when I first pitched it to him. He's like, I don't know if we want a movie podcast
on
Chris,
a music feed.
And if I want to listen to a review of movies, Chris isn't the guy I want to hear.
But the way the kind of how do I say this? The incubation period that you guys had for it was great, because once it actually was committed to tape, it was like, okay, I see exactly what they're going for now. This is fantastic, and
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's so good. I'm gonna be on one of these days for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. We gotta have.
I don't want to
man.
be on every one, but I definitely want to be on one or two here and there.
Yeah, you got it. It's an open door, so you might get Marty on at least a few of them.
I think Katie want to get on one as well.
Yeah, I'd love to have Katie on it,
because it's just this idea that we're trying.
I told Katie about it. Katie's my sister, and I was like, "Yeah, what movie? We did Rambo. We did Beverly Hills Cop is the second one. Movies like that. What do you want to do if you were on it, Katie?" And she said, "I don't know, beaches."
Meg Ryan, Barbara Streisand movie.
Yeah, we might just do it because me and Chris were like
beaches. We're like,
yes,
what?
We're gonna wreck this stuff.
Yeah, this is going to be
minutes.
So you can already get a sense of what this thing is like. I've had fun. The Beverly Hills Cop one was really fun because I was surprised I'd never seen it before. Neither of us had really seen it.
Yeah, and it was
right?
one of those things that's like we watched it and we thought, this is much better than we kind of thought it was.
Parts of it were much better, but then, you have to check out the episode. But it's what I like about it is that I do feel like, having listened to them, if I can say this myself, I feel like we actually say cogent, reasonable things. It's not just like two guys shooting the breeze. I mean, we actually sound like music critics, but not really, not serious music critics. But we have reasonable thoughts from it. So
our agenda is we're going to watch a movie and see what we think about it after the agenda. There's no, I might bring some bad stuff out. For Chris to suffer through.
He keeps talking about Running Man.
It's such.
We were talking about that when you were grabbing more stuff from the upstairs. I haven't seen it.
So Marty, we might bring Marty into it. I was like, oh, you're gonna get Arnold Schwarzenegger up.
But so we hope you guys, feel free. We may bring it up again at some point, but it is a part of the. What if it was Biscuit Wheels Productions?
Biscuit Wheels,
the Biscuit Wheels family of podcasts.
I want to make sure that Biscuit Wheel family of podcasts.
Yeah,
the Biscuit Wheels Podcast Network.
Oh, there we go.
I think that's what we have to call it now.
Biscuit Wheels.
Just call it the Gravy Network.
The Gravy.
Okay.
All right. So we got to have a debate about what we call the company, but
we got to have some branding meetings, marketing meetings.
But so that series is going to come out occasionally. Yeah. So we don't have like a
it's not going to do every Tuesday like the podcast.
Yeah, it's not. That would kill us. But one thing I do like about it is they're pretty easy to put together. Yeah. So and they're just fun. So if you are interested in supporting the podcast and that sounds like something you'd be interested in, the $2 level is a good place to buy in. Absolutely. And we've got one more level, right?
We do, yeah. So the 180-gram heavyweight LP, that's going to be $5 a month, guys. And for that $5 a month, you're going to get everything in the first two tiers. So you're going to get the exclusive audio content, the blog posts, and there's some other fun things that we have for that tier. So being a 180-gram subscriber gets you access to the blog and the exclusive audio content, as I said. And also get you an AOTY podcast logo sticker designed by the great goat boy himself,
Thomas Reedy,
to the right of me.
TPR3.
Right now, we can only do U.S. shipping, so for our
friends
guys
in
out there in Bosnia,
thank you guys so much. Yeah. We do love you.
Sorry.
Enjoy some Jersey Mike.
Once we find a way to get you AOTY stickers, go to your Jersey Mikes in Bosnia and slap that sticker on the door, and it'll be great. It'll be like we're one in the same. But anyway, so domestic shipping only for now. We'll also have a 180-gram announcement on each episode in which we'll read your name aloud along with the other subscribers of this tier. So you'll get some love from us on the air. Yeah. You'll get a sticker, and you'll get access to all the other stuff the Patreon kind of includes.
Yeah, so, and you'll have our eternal gratitude, and
absolutely.
I know that's probably worth less than $5, but I'm telling you that would be very kind.
I mean, we appreciate you guys listening, absolutely, and
something I've said before, and I think it's worth saying now is like I always said that the kiss of death for something like this is if we started acting like people who listen to this owed us anything.
Exactly.
I don't think a single person here, not even Thomas, owes me any. Well, Thomas probably owes me for other things.
Chris owes me something as well.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hey, man.
But I don't ever want it to sound like we're anything less than grateful for your time. But if you are willing to participate in the Patreon, thank you so much for that. Because ultimately, we've said we don't have world domination plans with this podcast. Yeah. But what we have is just we want to keep doing it. Exactly. And it is expensive for us just personally to keep doing it month after month. But, if you can help out with that, will eternally be grateful.
Absolutely. Yeah, and to kind of echo what Chris said, absolutely. If you're taking the time to listen to us, there's a lot of podcasts out there. There's a lot of thing in the world nowadays competing for your time. And that goes with streaming video, streaming audio content, streaming video content, music, books,
all the other cool stuff you could be doing right now rather than listening to us.
Exactly. So any time that you give us out of your day, we are eternally grateful for. I just looked at the numbers on Libsyn, and we have surpassed 3,000 downloads.
Wow. Okay.
We have a spike in listenership in Australia, which is interesting. So for you guys down there in the Down Under, we hope.
Good day, mate.
Yeah,
shrimp on the bobby.
Everybody is okay with the wildfires down there. So anybody that's listening to Australia, we send our love and hope you guys are all safe.
It's the flooding now, the monsoons and the flooding.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It's uplifting, Thomas. I really appreciate that. I'm just trying to show love to our 87 Australian listeners.
I have friends in Australia. It's okay.
Oh, well, apparently we do too.
He can say anything he wants because he has an Australian friend.
They've come and visited me here in the States.
That's fine. Yeah, you want to throw
us.
Yeah.
Why don't you draw me some figurines? What do you say? Okay. All right. We just lost our complete Australian.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this. Actually, do any of you know anyone? Do any of you know people in the Pacific Northwest, like Washington State?
Yeah. We got a friend Mark up there.
We have 126 downloads in the Yakima, Pasco, Richland, Kennewick, Quad Cities area, which I believe is in Washington State. I don't know where that came from at all.
Those all sound like made up names.
They're right here, bro. Look at them.
Yeah.
I'm reading them right off of Libsyn, man.
I mean, my buddy Mark is up there.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is he spreading the word?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he does. He might have seen it on social because he does check in from time to time.
Well, Mark, if you're spreading the gospel up there in the Pacific Northwest, we could not appreciate it more.
That's the
Thank
truth.
you very much. But yeah, so that's cool. That's great. I just wanted to point that out real quick. It kind of, 3,000 downloads for doing this a year and a half might not seem like a lot, but honestly, that's way more downloads than, and that doesn't count people that are just actually streaming the episodes. Like, who knows how high those numbers could be with that. So I never expected that many people to actually even listen, so I'm incredibly grateful and thankful for that. Even if you just listen to a half hour of an episode, whatever, totally grateful for that, guys. It really means a lot to us because we do put a lot of our energy and time into this podcast, and we do have significant others and lives outside of it. Chris has children,
kids.
Yeah. So the kids, you got to think about
it for the kids.
Do it for the kiddos, yeah. Courtney and I plan on a wedding, so that's taking up time. So as Chris said, this is a labor of love, and any time that you give us is greatly appreciated.
And the truth is, it does take a long time. It's pretty much not my free time is all taken up with recording and editing the podcast.
Right.
But I think that goes back to show that we've already been at it for a year and a half.
Yeah.
My enthusiasm for it hasn't dimmed at all.
No, me neither.
Doing it.
Me neither.
I love getting together.
I'm not sick of it at all. Yeah.
It's fun, and we still have lots of plans for things that we want to do that we haven't touched yet. So, do we want to keep talking about art and commerce, or do we think we kind of covered it?
Chris, let me end the podcast with this thought. And I'm really interested to how you would react to this kind of thought process. And I don't know where I read this. It was like in a magazine or it was on a message board, somewhere like that. But there was a conversation. I mean, selling out in punk rock, has been around since the dawn of time. But I think that argument hit a fever pitch probably in 2003, because at that time pop punk was blowing up and all these pop punk bands were signing to major labels, and there was all these really strong indie labels like Epitaph Records and Fat Wreck and Vagrant, Get Up Kids label and all that stuff. So you either kind of tried to move over to one of those or you signed a major record deal. And major labels were scooping up these bands because they knew they could push them out and market them to the kids and whatever.
Opening for a simple plan.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember reading somebody's comment, and it said, it's okay to sell out if everybody gets what they want, right? And I guess what is meant by that is the band or the artist gets some kind of level of creative control over their work. And, I guess the record label gets to, push their work out to as many people as possible, and I don't want to say get rich off of them, but maybe like coexist. Like if everybody gets what they want, then maybe the record label and the artist somehow find a way to coexist and get this middle ground. Now, I don't think that's reality, but
I kind of get behind it. I don't think REM sold out for going to Warner Brothers. I actually like their early Warner Brothers stuff just as much as the IRS stuff. And there are a lot of people who are cranky about that.
Really?
That's yeah.
Like automatic for the people. Fuck.
Oh, I mean, there are people who trash on it. Like they never did anything good after documenting. Yeah. I mean, that absolutely happens. And so I'm not. To me, the act of selling out isn't the act of necessarily signing to a major label. The Beatles were on a major label. It's clear.
The game was different back then.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Had to be on a major label.
What I'm trying to get at is that the being on a major label is not itself the kiss of death for artistry.
Right.
It just depends on what you do with it.
Yeah.
And so to me, I never felt like. Now there is a thing where it's like, okay, now the steaks are being eaten by somebody who's got absolutely nothing to do with your music.
Right.
Like I get that. Like that would be the Superchunk argument, right?
Sure.
Like why would I have Matador distribute my music if it means that a portion of it is going to some irrelevant person at Atlantic Records now or whatever? You know what I mean? And I get that argument, but I'm not I'm not ruthless about that one. I think that it's okay. So in a way, I guess I kind of agree with you. Like if everybody gets what they want, but I would add a caveat to it that what the artist wants is at least to some degree noble.
Yeah.
And because I think selling out is kind of a state of mind. If you're like, hey, I'm going to go sign to the big record, and I'm going to have Timbaland do my do my next album because that's going to sell big time, and I'm going to make lots of money. Yeah. Then I don't know if you've sold out because you never had a soul to sell to begin with. You know what I mean? But sometimes that only becomes apparent once you get to a major label to your fan base.
Well, there are people out there that are like, I want to be in a band so I can fuck girls and make a lot of money.
Yeah, and screw those guys. Like
exactly.
That's the KISS school of being a rock star, and to hell with that. Like I never respected that.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, I know, but like those guys aren't selling out in a sense because they didn't. What are they selling out? Like they suck, and I have no.
They're never going to make anything that's really impactful.
You can just ignore them.
It's not. That's exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's kind of. I think I would kind of agree with that, and I would be comfortable with that definition for myself, as long as I knew that what I was getting into wasn't just mercenary.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing I always wanted to avoid. So, but I feel like we're doing it right with this Patreon. For what we're doing, I think it's like, we're asking people, hey, if you're interested, feel free to help us keep the lights on.
Right.
I mean, that's all we ask.
You're not stopping to do it. This is just if you want to help us out.
Yeah.
This is, you're not going to continue not doing it, unless Marty keels over or this DJ career takes off and he's like, f this Chris guy, I'm gonna mix some beats.
I'm gonna travel the world and spin my obscure 45s for people, man.
Your Frito twist or whatever.
Frito twist,
yeah. And now I'm gonna go be Andrew Ridgely and break this thing up and then just fall on my face.
Andrew Ridgely.
You just gotta do that one.
Wham. Oh, the other guy in Wham.
Oh man, well I would hate for that to happen to you, Chris. Yeah. I'm not gonna be George Michael in this situation. Like, come on.
Marty, just wake me up before you go. That's all.
Hey, Album of the Year podcast. Get to our Patreon. Sorry, that's good. All right.
Well, thanks, guys, for joining us for this episode. It's actually pretty fun. I enjoyed the conversation.
Spirited.
I feel good about it. I dragged my feet on the Patreon thing, but I think we're able to talk about it without me feeling like we had to beg. So
me too.
And don't worry, guys, we'll bring up the Patreon from time to time. But this is a kind of special episode to kind of talk about that and talk about some of the issues around it.
Sure.
But we're not going to start begging on every episode. I promise you,
nothing like that. And we're not going to put everything behind any kind of Patreon paywall. A bulk of our content will still be on the feed and be available for free.
And it'll be the same stuff you've been getting. Where do they find the Patreon? Where is it?
Patreon.com/album of the year. All
That's
one
it.
word. That's it. Yeah.
It's like album of the year 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Somehow we got to that first. That's great.
Yeah.
So so check it out. Patreon.com/album of the year.
Yeah.
And other than that, thank you guys for joining us. We got a good plan for next time, man.
Yeah,
I'm super excited because we got two wild records to talk about coming up. So it's going to be fun.
Next episode's going to be crazy.
It is. So stick with us and shoot us an email if you want to. aotypodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And check us out on Instagram.
Love to hear from you.
And other than that, have a great one, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.